feminism is a truth that sets you free. But once you realize how unequal things really are, it certainly does piss you off, right?
What's a truth that set you free but first pissed you off?
When I got out of college, I really thought, I can be anything, I can do anything, the world's my oyster. And then I didn't recognize sort of fundamental societal dimension, including my that I wasn't viewed as an equal in the workforce or in most activities. And I would say that was my first smack in the face.
Did it piss you off today?
It actually, on a flip side, it sort of made me more determined. So I sussed it out very quickly that the truth I thought was true wasn't true. And in order for me to do and become what I wanted, I needed to figure out find a new place for the water to flow. That's when I went into tech.
When did you find your voice?
When I was little and reading Louisa May Alcott, it didn't occur to me that I couldn't. I just didn't know that there was another way of being.
Well, when I met Gloria, I told her that she didn't really have a role model in front of her, and I had Nancy Drew.
Yes, we both had Nancy Drew, as it turns out.
and then I had Gloria, and then I had Jane Goodall, because no one else I saw doing anything that I actually...
Yeah, Jane Goodall was amazing.
So it was more about just seeing people do things because no one around me was doing that.
Who's the wisest woman you know?
Well, I might be sitting next to her. How's that?
I don't think I could name one. I mean, I think of Alice Walker. I think of Wilma Mankiller, who was the chief of the Cherokee Nation. I think of Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay, who I remember going to see in India, and we were trying to research Gandhi's, I don't know what, letters. I think he wrote often in letters, not in books. And she listened to us patiently rocking on her porch. And she said, well, my dear, we taught him everything he knew. Because, of course, he had learned nonviolence and, everything from the women's movement that then was more acceptable from him than it was from them.
Julie, I feel like to me, it's quite a feminist act to have a female-led company and to create opportunities for women.
After Pets, it wasn't easy for me to get a job. In fact, the jobs I was offered were really bad jobs. And so for me, it was like, no, I want to create something in a place I want to work at. And I'm not going to stop until I do, because otherwise I'm going to lose my soul.
Is there a voice today that you've read or that you feel is really capturing the moment?
I'm thinking about my mother, who was a writer, and how I wish she had been able to continue to have her own voice. I mean, she really gave up her ability to do that when I was a child. But when I think of all the voices that were silenced, in some way, no, I think I notice as I wander around talking to, the people, men as well as women, have a kind of sense of sadness about who their mothers could have been.
Well, yeah, I mean, for one reason or another, yes, they have been. And some of them are being discovered.
What's the role of fashion in terms of empowerment, in terms of identity? What role does it play?
Fashion is a big world of choices, right? And style is you. Style is what you kind of pick for yourself, right? So I'm sure that earlier in my life, I felt I had to wear a skirt. It took me a while to realize that actually you can pick what you feel comfortable in. And I evolved a kind of uniform, I suppose, of New York black and some crazy belt. Right. So do you think fashion is external?
I think fashion's a business.
And style is individual?
I do. I agree with you. And I also think fashion's a business and fashion is fleeting. So when you look at it, it's like they're always on to what's new. They're always re-envisioning. And style, I think, evolves as you evolve. But now when I think of like personal style and fashion, I think, especially as I'm getting older, I think I should take more risks and have more fun, to be honest, because I feel like I've been constrained by probably what I should look like instead of what I do look like and what I should wear versus maybe what I would want to wear. But I may be too far down that what I should be wearing that I can't go back to what I want to wear without being so self-conscious, and you'd ruin it. You know, you've got to own it. I don't want to be worried about like, oh, well, I have to say though, when I was starting my career, I was hyper conscious about what I wore. I was trying to desexualize myself. I was trying to fit in, and it was so boring. But you know, it was like little. I had sensible pumps, and you know, it was like all the rules. So I was really embracing the rules.
Work was a male universe.
That's right.
And when I was living in India, I was wearing saris every day for 2 years. And that was interesting because the influence of clothes on your behavior is very evident. And in a sari, it's more sensuous. You may walk more slowly. You can do many different things with the sari. You know, it's not just already cut clothing. Yeah, it was a kind of revelation.
Yeah. What is the best style wisdom you ever got?
Feeling good in what you put on, it makes a difference. It changes your energy.
What about for you?
Wear anything you fucking well, please.
What would you say for you is something that you hope to see still that you haven't seen yet in terms of progress?
What I would like to see is something that is either companies, but actually a government that is value-driven that we can get behind, and then just figure out ways to bring us together. And then we start pulling together instead of pulling apart. And in pulling together, we also recognize the uniqueness. We're not trying to negate it. We're not trying to paper over it.
Democracy. I would love to see democracy. You know, I would love to see a democracy that recognizes uniqueness and assumes an equal opportunity to expression and work and so on, as long as you don't hurt someone else, you know, but that allows you that freedom. And look at Congress. Does it reflect the country? Does it look like the country? No. Do the decision makers in general in the country look like the country by race and class and gender? No, you know. So I think the lack of democracy is visible. But of course, I'm old enough so I know when it was worse. So I do have a sense of progress. We do have the one thing that men don't have, which is a womb. So the effort to control our wombs has always been fundamental.
What does it look like to challenge bias today?
I think anytime we're in a group that is representing something and it doesn't look like the group it's representing, we can point that out.
When you start talking about anything with bias or dress or anything really in the world, if you can align on values, you can start aligning what kind of world you want to create.
But I think what's helpful in that regard is just remembering we do not learn from sameness, we learn from difference. Because that is like an instant reward, you know, for diversity and different experiences. And, you know, I think it's a positive motive.
What does allyship mean when, like, sometimes we might be blinded by our own biases? Like, but how do we then show up for others? How do we open
Well, I
those
think
doors?
we ask them, hello, what would you like me to do? What would be helpful? You know, it's probably important to ask.
There you go. Simple question. What's required reading, would you say, today?
Required reading is, I would say, first of all, just anything that is inclusive, you know, that's not only about white people or only about women or men or something. You know, the more inclusive, the better, and the more, therefore, individual and unique each voice without excluding people by a group.
What does a sustainable future look like to you?
Well, I think we don't understand or commonly have an image in our head anyway, even if we do understand, that the earth is a living being, is a living creature. And it's our home. It's the only place we know.
We're in a sustainable business, and yet we're such a small fraction of doing what we can do. We're trying to, collectively, we're trying to use a bigger voice to affect laws. But it's going to take a rethinking of commerce and geographies. And I think it's going in hard trade-offs. And I don't see that happening easily. So it's sort of like we're on this train and everyone's going to be affected. I do know that we have to make our voices heard. We have to vote with a candidate who will help affect change. I don't think it's going to be easy.
The one thing that we do know is that change is like a tree. It grows from the bottom up, not the top down, Mm-hmm. So what we do, what we reuse instead of throwing away, just our personal impact on the environment is something we can change.
And that's what the RealReal is all about. I mean, to bring it home, our goal is to because it's not just fashion, we recirculate as many things of value we can. And that actually feels like a really good thing to do. But we know it's good for the planet. But that's a change of consciousness too.
What would you hope to see more in the future from younger generations who want to be activists and who want to make change?
I would love to see more women take risks, because as we just don't do it. Even if you fail, you're going to learn so much. And by taking the risk, you'll also understand yourself better. And you might not fail, and that's also wonderful. But I would say take risks, do it often, and learn from other people's mistakes too, so you don't have to replicate them yourself.
They are there they know things I don't know. They have experiences I don't have. So I just want to say to them, follow your best instincts, and I'm here to support you.